just want to get people to think, like, stop putting this practice on a pedestal because it doesn't work. It's not just not working for like some people. It's like a 99% failure rate. I mean, would you invest with an investment company that lost 99% of its money?
Right. Well,
so what are you going to do?
Yeah, obviously it's a lucrative business though, right? I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar business, the fitness and health industry.
Misdirected hope is a great business.
I think most people's intent is to get fit, right? Most people want to feel better, live longer.
Nobody's ever asked me, how do I get fatter and weaker?
Right. No. So the desire is there, but where's the effort, right? And where's the commitment? And that's where most people fail in life with just about anything.
I think the lack of effort and commitment is because there's a tremendous lack of results.
Right.
Like if you went in there and it worked, you wouldn't quit. So, like anybody who like finds what they're good at, like somebody realizes they're, really great at whatever, being a chef. They don't, go back to the gas station and ask for a job tending the gas station. They're like, oh, got to go to, chef school, culinary school. So I think we need to look at the things that work. And the whole idea of, and I think I'm pretty unique. I didn't see this coming. I think I'm pretty unique in the fitness industry in that I'm actually speaking to the fans of the industry, but I'm a scientist. There doesn't seem to be like any other ones. I mean, like Lane Norton, he does that. And he does a pretty good job of it. But unfortunately, like his fans are really kind of angry, jealous people, and they kind of hate everyone. So he has to play into what they want, which I think paints him in a unfortunate way, which was not his intention when he got into it. Like he really wanted to promote science, whereas really now it's just like he kind of just ends up ridiculing people.
Well, I think what happens is when somebody's really at a high level of knowledge, wisdom in an area, right, knows a lot more than the general pop or even most of their peers, there becomes a big gap, a big divide, and then they don't kind of understand each other. They don't see things the same way, and I think there's just I think it's just one of those things that happens. It's like me talking to my son about big world topics or big experiential things that only he would know if he was closer to my age, because I've invested 45 years in getting to that point, and he's only at 9 years old, right? So I'm talking so far over his head, he doesn't get it. That's why most of us in the industry, fitness industry, or a lot of industries, we have to speak to people at a 7th grade level for our audience to actually understand where we're coming from.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I know this because, again, I've been around the block more than once. I've been doing this since the 90s. So I have a great deal of understanding, even though I don't have the same level of, right, I don't have the degrees that some of these other people have. I don't have the 10,000 hours making medical devices.
You don't need a degree to understand something.
Correct. So, but this is controversial stuff because, I mean, people are going to hear this and say, okay, so what? I should like throw my barbell away, or I should stop doing calisthenics. Like that's no good for me anymore. But you're not saying that, are you? You're just saying that there's a better way to get the results that you're after?
I wouldn't waste my time with calisthenics, and I wouldn't pick up a barbell. And I'm in better shape than probably, I don't know, 90% of most people who would be called in shape. But I'm applying some different principles. So I call the book Weightlifting is a Waste of Time, not Resistance Training is a Waste of Time, because that's false. Resistance training is awesome if you apply the resistance with a better understanding of what the human body can tolerate. And when I did my bone density research, and like if somebody's bench pressing and they got the bar on their chest, they can hold X amount of weight.
Right.
Well, I actually determined what they can handle just short of lockout, not here, but here.
Right.
and it's 7 times that number. So if you have a 7-fold variability through your range of motion, it would be, I mean, once you know that, now I was at a point where I was the only one in the world that knew that, because it was based on my bone density tests and my medical device for bone density that I gathered that information. And I just realized when looking at the power output capabilities in various ranges of motion, like, God, weightlifting sucks because you always have the same weight. That's not how the body works. You have 7-fold capacity. Well, you're really never fatiguing the stronger range of motion or the mid range of motion or the almost weak range of motion. It's just the weak range. That's the only thing you're fatiguing. Or you have the least amount of muscle firing. And here's another perfect example. I put this on Instagram yesterday. If you have to engage more than one stimuli, like more than one set to stimulate a change, well, you failed already. Like, and you fail to understand adaptation, because adaptation requires one stimulus only. You know, building a callus, I got huge calluses, one stimulus. Getting a suntan, one stimulus. Like, no one says how many sets do you need to do in the sunlight to get a suntan. That question doesn't make sense.
Okay. Well, I have a question then. What people are going to ask maybe then, what about like cardiovascular health and conditioning?
Yeah, my general position around that, and I have more than 100 studies referenced to discuss this. I don't think there is such a thing as cardio. Cardio is just really strength training, where you don't get stronger at all. Because you're beating up on your joints, you're contracting muscle, you're forcing the heart to perform, but it's at a low level of intensity for an extended period of time. Now, what stimulus have we ever seen that did really well with a long exposure with a low intensity of the actual stimuli? None. Nothing works like that in the body. So why would exercise be different? It's not. So like if you look at cardiovascular performance and longevity tests, the healthiest is the weightlifter. Now, there's a myth that I totally understand where it came from. I'm 240 pounds, 6 feet tall, and I'm lean. So, like when there's a story I tell about this where I'm with this guy who runs marathons, and I'm in the Munich airport, and we're trying to get a connecting flight to Moscow. The Munich airport, for some reason, I don't know, it's like the land of stairs. Like, you got to run up and down flights of stairs to, like, you know, go through German immigration, and then you got to go through like a Russian interview thing, and then you got to pick up your bags, and you got to have them re-examined through whatever the Russian TSA is, because they have it on the German side. And it's just like, you're just running up and down the stairs. And every time I'm there with this guy, I'm like covered in sweat and I'm out of breath. And he goes, well, your cardio is not very good. And I said, no, that's not the problem. My quadriceps are 5 times bigger than yours. So I'm running a bigger engine that requires more blood. So my heart has to work harder. Like, I'm not stimulating myself to be a distance runner. I'd weigh 100 pounds less if I wanted to do that. So I'm trying to carry as much size for explosive power as possible. So just, you know, like we become products of our environment, and my environment is incredibly heavy loads, like ridiculously heavy loads, high rep deadlifts with 600 pounds, you know, 25 repetitions with 600 pounds.
But,
like
but using band resistance, not free weights.
Latex resistance and it comes right. So like at the bottom, I'm holding 100 pounds, and at the top, I'm holding 600.
You're strong, right? Sure.
Right. So I mean, but that is like it's a brutal workout.
Which is where a lot of power lifters. I mean, Mike, who I work for, was he was really into lifting heavy and, you know, powerlifting in college football, and used to sponsor a lot of powerlifting meets. And then he himself got really heavy into powerlifting for like a 3-year stretch. And, these guys are using the bands wrapped on the ends of barbells. They're using chains. They're using a lot of this stuff, which gives them the forces that you're talking about to
it's variable
some
force.
extent.
That's awesome. Yeah. My concern with those guys is that, like when I told you, you can hold whatever you can hold here as X, you can hold 7X here. The problem is that with that's kind of like a 1 rep thing, which you never want to go for if you want to fatigue the muscle, because 1 rep is really only fatiguing the central nervous system. So there's plenty of research done on that. So what we use is more like X and 5X, and then, a little bit lower of a general resistance. So instead of like the chest press I do, it's 550 pounds at the top. It's about 300 pounds in the middle, and it's about 100 pounds down here. So I'll go through a set. So it's not exactly the 7X difference, but that way I can keep moving. And so I might do 20 repetitions full range, and then I can't get there anymore. Then I'm like half repetitions. And then the last repetition may be just a couple of millimeters.
Or even an isometric hold at the bottom or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah. Just,
okay.
You're done when you can't move.
Right. So what does a typical, I think people listening right now who are still trying to understand everything that they've been doing as wrong for a long time, and even me to some extent, but what does a typical workout with your equipment look like? Paint the picture of what a routine, the length of it, what movements you're doing, how long it takes, what you feel like, and how often in a week are you doing that?
6 days a week. Workouts are 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how muscular you are, because like I said, the larger a muscle, the more recovery time it needs. It has nothing to do, you see a 14-year-old kid do bicep curls, and he might do them an absolute failure. He drops the dumbbells, and 30 seconds later, he's ready for his squats.
Right.
Whereas a guy with larger biceps, just totally gassed from doing a set of bicep curls. So, and it's just the size of the muscle and how much blood has to be pumped there. So that's where, you're the workouts are 10 to 15 minutes, 4 sets per workout. So no, they're really intense sets. They're gasping for air, having to sit down between sets.
So if a workout has 3 movements, 4 movements in it, if you'll do deadlifts, bench press, maybe some type of overhead press.
Yeah, we go deadlifts, bent rows, calves, and bicep curls, and that's one workout. And then the other workout is chest press, tricep press, overhead press, and I've been playing with the order of things. So yeah. Oh, and then crossovers, to really finish off the chest. So because ultimately I don't care where you put your hands. Also, there's a myth that if your hands are closer together, that you're not activating the pectorals, you're activating the triceps. Completely wrong. In fact, where do you think? So the pectoral muscle brings the humerus bone across
the body. Right.
Right. So by keeping your hands wide, that's going to make this engage more? No,
you're at the end of the range of motion.
I don't know who came up with that stupid crap, but that's stupid crap.
Right.
That's just not the way it works. So you want to keep the hands close together, but you don't want to let the elbows drop. Because I think that's the mistake people make, is they're really doing almost like a close grip, elbows in sort of tricep isolation. So if you got to keep the arms flared and then, right, push away, and that works just fine. But there's so many of these. I track these things. I call them falsehoods of fitness, and there's 12. I've done 12 videos, so I summarize them in the book. Just crazy nonsense that's just never been true. Here's another one: parts of a muscle. I'm working on the outer heads of my bicep.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's not how anything works, but be my guest. Here's what happens is like some bodybuilder shows up and he just happens to have the shape of a muscle that's like more pleasing than somebody else. Some people have, like the tendon insertion is pushed in here.
Right.
So the biceps taller, like Arnold's looks like a apple was stitched in.
Right.
Here.
Right.
And it's like, okay, cool. But that's like your fingerprint, man. Like you didn't exercise for that shape. You were born with it.